All right, let's get rolling. We've got Dave to share his gray shaded levels. You see it on the puke tool all the time, every day. People have asked. They've been kind enough to share it. So Dave, welcome back, and floor is yours.
All right, so this is what it looked like this morning when I came in to work on the levels. And so this is a 20 PNF, straight high-low bar. There's no open-close ticks on it or anything, just trying to get a bunch of data in the one spot. And so I'm starting out with what I had before, and it's a little less interesting since we have our volatility or movement hasn't been that great. But so this is what I'm starting out with. So this is what we had yesterday, and you'll notice a lot of history through here. And what I'm doing is I adjust based on the most recent trade. So you'll notice that let's see, for instance, this area here just above about 33.30. Well, at one point that was support, but it's not now because we've done this. And so while there once was a support area in here, it's been superseded and actually come down, and it's been replaced with this. So what I'm using is the most recent data, um, to draw the lines. If there's some confusion, if there's sometimes I'll look back across to see if if I want to tweak a level up just a little bit, I'll look back across and see if there's anything interesting. Sometimes there is, most of the time there's not. So we're looking at the levels. This 3350 has worked. The one under 3360s works. So all this stuff has worked pretty well. But then you get up in here and you get a lot of noise. And so when it's not really clear the structure and the rotations on this, I'll go to the profile. Let me see if I can get it to give me the profile. I think I have to go back to here first. All right. Okay, there we go. And so for today, you look at this, and we're looking at, and this is a regular trading hours profile. Look at it and say, okay, so what stands out? Well, the high went a little bit above this zone. The low went a little below this zone, and then the value area high and low are kind of hanging out. Let me zoom in a little bit so it's a little more clear. So I look at this and say, all right, I'm going to drop this zone to make sure that I'm going to cover the regular trading hours low, which by the way also corresponds closely to the prior day regular trading hours high. I'm going to take this zone up a little bit so that now it covers the regular trading hours. Let's get the scale in here too. It then covers the regular trading hours high, and then we're going to look at the value area high and low, and they're so close you kind of don't care. So once you move this zone down, you're going to be in a spot where this value area high or value area low is really uncovered, but it's so close, don't care. Same deal with this. And so that's the first set of adjustments. So we do all that and say, all right, there's our first adjustments. So any questions to this point?
You could see the question box, right? In case
yes, I can.
All right, I don't see any questions yet.
Okay, no questions yet. All right, so let's go on to
no, we had a late arrival. Any reason why volume, not TPO, is the question?
Because I want to know. I'm looking for how many people are involved. How much time it spent there is kind of unimportant to me. I want to know how many contracts are.
So those are Joe asked. Those are daily volume profiles.
Those are regular trading hours. So 8:30 to 3:15 Central.
Thank you. That's it. All right, we cleared them. It's like a press briefing.
uh, okay, so then we go over to look at the profile here to say how do we really, how does this work for us? Is it gonna? And this is the lower one is a 16 PNF, and the upper one is, I think it's a 48. Let me double check that. That's a 32. So we are 16 PNF down here, 32 PNF up here. So we're trying to see how did the changes work in here. And so now that we've adjusted, you'll see that the regular trading hours high is covered by the zone. The low, let's see, let's bring this up here. You know what, this may not be the adjusted one. Hold on just a sec. Yeah, that's not the adjusted one. So this is the bar that came down. This bar went up a little bit, and so now this is what it looks like in the other charts. In fact, let me just bring over one with the final levels on it. So here's the chart with the final levels on it. And so here were the adjustments. We pushed this 76 down a little bit. And so where it was centered on 76, we dropped it a little bit, and we raised this top level a little bit. So you'll see how it happened today. And then you've got a 1 day and a 5-day Globex profile on the side. So that's really it. It's not a lot of magic. I'm just looking for rotations and where the fight happens, so that that I put them on the screen. And so it's the old support becomes resistance, resistance becomes support, and trying to lay those levels out so that they're really obvious. So it's really quick and easy. I mean, it literally takes maybe a couple of minutes, unless the market's done some crazy things. It literally takes a couple of minutes. Go ahead, Anthony.
A question from Christine: do you use these levels as targets or to put a trade on, or both?
Both.
And why are they usually 2 points wide? You might have said this, but
that's just I didn't say. That's just it seems a reasonable range for the ES. Like when I'm plotting them on the NQ, I do five handles instead of 2.
Yeah.
But it's just a reasonable target. I mean, Tom can do 1 tick accuracy, but I need a couple of handles.
So you look to fight for a location, especially to get in a trade within that 2-point area. Is that fair to say?
That's fair, yeah.
Another question, GB, do the zones intentionally or coincidentally correspond to volume peaks and valleys?
It happens if you look at what I'm plotting, it happens because of what I'm plotting. So when you've got areas of support and resistance, they tend to be thin spots in volume as well, because all the volume is either below the peak or above the low. And so in those spots where you have that, then you wind up with little volume. So I guess you could arguably, in fact, at one point I did do a lot more of this off the volume profile, but now I'm just doing the 20 PNF. Either way works fine. It's just the 20 PNF makes it a little easier.
Sometimes the peaks and valleys happen because it's a good level. Like you would see it afterwards. Would that be accurate to say? Like,
say that again, the peaks and valleys.
Well, it's like when someone will look at something and they'll see a peak and valley, but it actually was a peak because of the level. Like the peak wasn't there when you created the level.
And that could be the case. I took this at like 7 o'clock this morning. So these shots were taken when I did the level. But yeah, it could have been. It could have happened afterwards, and in fact, when the levels work well, it reinforces the volume profile.
Yeah. Well, I think with levels, people, you want something straightforward, and this is, and then you want to have confidence in it. That's why having your own level, your own idea, and how you're going to create that area will eventually give you more confidence to play it than just someone else's magic, because there is no true magic to it, because you still have to know when to get the hell out of the way and when to play it. That's where the skill comes in. You still want good levels, and these are great based on everything you walk through.
Let's see, there's a question about the highlighted points. These highlighted points are actually the VWAP. So if you see, so this is a VWAP, it's smoother during the trading day, and then overnight it gets a little more jittery. So that's nothing but a VWAP, Globex VWAP. And I wrote an indicator for Sierra charts to put these on. So there's a text file that has pairs of numbers. In fact, I can just drag it over here and show it to you. There's text files that have, and those are presentation notes above it. This is what it looks like. So it's high and low of the where I want the zone, and my indicator just picks it up in the file. Every time when the file changes, that's what causes it to replot the levels.
And you say literally 2-3 minutes,
yeah,
for plotting, finding them, and punching them in there.
Yep, exactly. Now it can be longer. When it's longer is when you have some reprice event and there's just a ton of stuff to change.
Got it.
So if I go back, let me swing back to the other chart, and I'll show you where that. So you look at this. So if we had a big down move here, and went through a bunch of these levels, well, pretty much all of these, interestingly enough, just as an aside, these will work pretty well on the way down, but you'll wind up adjusting them. Doing some, pretty much all of them, they get touch will get tweaked up and down.
Yeah, so Sierra didn't have anything built in to create these
nope,
shades.
They do not.
But can you manually plot a shade? Like,
you can. There's a drawing tool, but it's like a really big pain.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and then you gotta redo it every day and adjust them.
Right, and you go, so when you're doing just editing a text file with number pairs, that's when it's so fast. Oh, I need to, and the funny thing, I often find I'll move them up or down, maybe a handle or two handles. That seems to happen a lot. Well, that's real fast in a text message or in a text editor, but it takes a long time if you're dragging lines around on a chart.
Yeah, right. And then it feels like work, because it is. You want to try to streamline it so it doesn't feel like as much work. So are the levels, Mike asks, left in place until the adjustment process would render one useless?
Yes. So I can go, let's see. Trying to, what do I have here? I think on this screen. Yep. Can you see that?
Yes.
So there they are. So that's what's in my file right now.
You won't pull those until we trade through them or whatever, correct?
Right. I mean, at some point when we go, when we're back to the races, and it's just, it's pretty obvious that we're not going to get down in here. I'll probably pull these off, because it takes time when for Sierra to plot them. It takes time, and just trying to optimize performance, I might pull them off. But yeah, they should just stay there.
Christine, your question might have a long answer to it, so I'll let Dave.
Yeah, it's a really long answer. So they have so it's C++. There's a bunch of documentation on the Sierra site that will tell you how to do it. And let's see. Yeah, I don't have an easy way to demonstrate that. I mean, it's not a huge amount of code, but you got to be a C++ coder to do it.
What is this chart right in here, Dave? This that 20 PNF, correct?
Correct. It's a high-low 20 PNF. So the difference, like you got the open and closed barbs, this has none of that. It's just the high-low points, because I don't really care about open and close on the bars in this context.
So just the high-low in that particular, well, it's a 20 PNF rotation.
Right.
Is that what you mean? Okay, yeah.
Correct. So in Sierra, they call it an A. If you want to replicate the look of the chart, they call it an HL bar, which is high-low bar.
Mark thought his first comment's going to be to make fun of me. He said that's Anthony's grades in high school, C++.
That's funny,
Huh?
Mark.
Yeah. Thank you. Actually, I was on the A and B honor roll, and I surprised a lot of people because my behavior would be less indicative of being somewhat smart. And so the girls that we hung around with said, "You're on the B honor roll?" I says, "Yeah." I would have never thought that. I said, "Well, I'll pretend like that's a compliment. Now beat it." I didn't say that. The school I went to, you should be on the B honor roll. I don't think it was particularly hard, but again, grades to me, and I tell, it's like trading. Everything's related back to trading. It's just do what they tell you to do. You don't have to go above and beyond. Just do on Friday, have it done by Friday. Study 20 minutes, study 20 minutes. Put in your levels, put in your levels. Have a routine and follow it. You don't have to go above and beyond. So either way, what other questions do we have? Let's see.
We're asking about the code again. So let me see what. So learning to code C++ is not a let's just have a chat and we'll learn how to do it thing. Let me show you. Can you see this okay?
Yeah.
So this is what it looks like. Let me see how many lines. So it is 252 lines of that plus another header line that's another 50. So it's 375 lines. A lot of it's boilerplate, but this is what you're doing. Let me see the meat of it. There's a lot of supporting stuff. There are two pieces. There's a loop here that drags in all the, let's see, is that it? Yeah. There's a loop here that drags in all the stuff out of the file that figures out that that there's something to be had there. And then there's this loop here that draws that puts it on the screen. So
Do you ever make it easy to plug in code? They do, don't they? They have a pretty open.
Yeah, actually, this is better than, I like theirs better than IRT. There's a couple of challenges, like the font thing that I was dealing with a couple of weeks ago was kind of annoying, but
Got it.
But for the most part, Sierra is easier to write for than IRT.
Go back to your charts for one quick
second.
I want to see something.
Yeah, I don't want to say this is impossible, but you're not going to learn this quickly. You want to zoom in on something? You want full screen?
Let's just say what would make, let's say just say overnight you wake up and we're trading 30. We broke from 80 to 30. Would you get rid of all the levels that it would have went through between 80 and 30?
It depends. So this is, by the way, this is why I was looking at the 28 to 26 today and dreaming about us touching that, because this would be an ideal place. Let me zoom in a little bit. This would be an ideal place to test for a long. But it depends. So if a level, if the price goes straight through a level, doesn't stop, completely ignores it, it's was obviously oblivious to its presence, then it'll go away. If it comes down into it, trades around it, it acts as, on the way down, acts as support, retraces a little bit, and then comes back through it, then I'll absolutely keep it. But if it trades through it like it wasn't there, then it's not there anymore. So the market tells me whether it needs to stay or not, the price action.
Yeah, I like that. And a lot of times when you get a good zone that you like, that you see work all the time, when it doesn't work, if you're watching it live, that gives you a good sense that the market support doesn't work, goes right through. It gives you a really good sense that the bears are in control and there's more downside left. It's another way to use levels when they're decent and you like them. So, no, I think that this was a great session, and I know I could speak on behalf of a lot of people. There was a lot of excitement in the trading room when I mentioned you were going to be on today to do this. So I like it, just straightforward, and it's using what matters and what makes sense to matter again when it gets back to that area. And it's like anything else. I like the fact that it's not a 1, 2, but it's not 8 handles either, or 6 handles. So when someone has a 6 handle area, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in 6 points. So you got to fight like heck for your location. And then you ultimately have to have bigger winners if you're going to have to sell in a 6-point resistance area, because you're going to expect to take more heat. Because if you sell 2 points into a 6-point area and it goes 4 points against you, it's still technically in your area. So you're going to, unfortunately, sometimes sell it too early or buy it too early, and it's not really considered heat. And that's the problem with bigger ranges. You just need to have bigger rewards and more the ability to have more patience. But I think a sweet spot in the ES is 2 points, and that's what yours are on. And you said 5 points in the NASDAQ?
Yes.
More questions?
Well, I'm glad this wasn't a very long presentation, because this is not very complicated. I mean, when you start doing it, it won't be 2 or 3 minutes, but once you practice it and repeat the process every morning, you'll get fast, and you'll just look at it and it'll jump out at you, and you'll go, oh, that makes sense. And the other thought is, if you get one wrong as you practice it, and you'll get stuff wrong, and I get stuff wrong all the time, but that'll teach you to be better. If you watch what you got wrong and say, okay, no, how could I have missed that, or how could I adjusted it? Well, then you got a chance to improve the whole process.
No, well said. Hey, these webinars that are the best are the ones that are 20, 30 minutes, and that's it. Hour long. Beyond that, it's just too much information. It shouldn't be that difficult.
So we got one more question here, and it's the volume profile. So the volume profile I'm looking at is regular trading hours, 8:30 to 3:15 Central. And I am using the highs and lows and the value area high and low, and don't care about the POC. So, and if the value area high or low happen to be really close to a zone already, then I ignore them. But if they're like out in the middle of nowhere, then they'll get a zone. Nope, no overnight.
Chris, we're discussing that about the NQ puke tool. Not yet, as far as like showing it. Dylan asked no overnight profile, and Dave said no. I think that might be it. Even when Tom types something in the chat, it sounds like he's from Boston.
That's funny.
I didn't know that was a question, Christina. I end up with too many levels if I miss a few one day because I don't want to miss any in the future. Too many is really subjective. It's like too many for one could be too few for another. If you think there are too many, then there's too many, and you got to distill it down. But what if there are not too many? It's just more than others. And all of a sudden, if that's your definition of too many, maybe that's not the case, right? That's a difficult question to answer because it's very subjective. What is too many? If you find yourself not having the results and trading too much, then you distill it down. Then it is too many. Bill says he missed your last answer regarding overnight. You draw zones on regular trading session only, correct, Dave?
So it's RTH for the volume profiles, but it's full session. It's all Globex on this chart that we're looking at here.
So full session for the 20 PNF chart and RTH for the volume profiles. You probably can answer that better than me. What's the fundamental difference between edge zones and these zones?
So in a lot of cases, when you're looking back, they will be the same. Because if you think about what an edge zone's doing, I'm doing the same thing visually just after the fact. The other thing is these aren't updated during the day. It's just, I just do it in the morning and then we're done.
I was going to say the same thing, but there's overlap, but yet an edge zone won't necessarily account for volume, just tempo, where this also accounts for volume. So there is a slight variation. But going back to the too many zones is, I think, the best way to describe or address, define, answer what's too many is giving you too many ideas, because there is such a thing as too many ideas. And that's what a trade is, an idea. I was throwing up on a whiteboard this bigger kind of webinar series that I'm going to do. And it all started with circles. Like, let me draw this really quick. It all started with me brainstorming this out at first of this. Some people use the word strategy, and there's nothing wrong with that. Idea and whatever. But everything is like an idea. And what this is kind of like a strategy builder webinar series in a way. So how do you get to the idea, and what builds up to an idea? And you got all these things that come off of it that are appropriate to make a good idea good. But if you have too many ideas, that's, again, you probably have a lot of bad ones in there. So an idea is a trade or a strategy, a setup, different words, I think, to define the same thing. But what's good about different words to define the same thing is that if it clicks for you, that word could click for you and help you with it. Because your idea today is good, you used it tomorrow and it's bad only because it didn't work? No. And so it was, go through it that way. So I just got into this because I was throwing this out and building out on it. But yeah, if you have too many of these ideas, you don't know if you're coming or going. And guess what? You're going to miss a lot of the good ones because you're taking some of the not so good ones and things like that. But it goes back to what's too many. It's case by case. Sean asks, is it the regular trading hours that make the difference? Oh, with the edge zones and the maybe slightly, Sean, the difference between these and the edge zones, and just nicknaming these so we know the difference. I always call them DMZ, Dave Metter zones. Any other questions I'm missing? I don't think so. I have an idea for this coding thing, but let me talk it over with Dave and then take it from there. But I'll talk to you guys later about it. But great stuff, Dave. Thanks for sharing.
You bet.
We'll see everybody. Yeah, we'll see you guys tomorrow or next week if you just come to these. Either way, the record, real quick, this won't matter for people watching the recording, but for you guys, it might not go up on the site right now. It's being actively worked on. I can't save changes to the site for some crazy reason. So I probably can't save a change to upload this video. But what I will do is I'll create a private link that only people who have it could watch it. Ask for it in the room. Don't email me for it, but ask me for it in the room. If you don't come to the trading room, then ask me for it. Guys listening to this in the future, it's up on the website by that point or that time, it'll work. But I want guys to be able to see this one, especially this one. But it won't be on the site. I'll still make it available. The link then will go away as soon as the site's fixed and it won't work. But it'll be a private link. Take care, guys.